While we wait, I'm really happy to see everybody here. There are a lot of new faces, and I'm so excited to have you all here with us.
Mientras esperamos, quiero decir que estoy muy contenta de verlos a todos aquí. Veo a muchas caras nuevas y me alegra mucho verlos a todos aquí.
Awesome, cool. I think the slides are up and everything is working. Sorry, Heather. Everything looks good now, though. Okay, I'm going to start. Welcome. Bienvenidos, everybody. Before we begin the presentation, I'd like to let everyone know that we are offering Spanish and American Sign Language interpretation during today's meeting. After I go over the instructions for joining the Spanish interpretation channel, our Spanish interpreter will provide them in Spanish. Simultaneous interpretation is being provided. English speakers may need to select English as their language. For your computer, select the globe icon at the bottom of your screen and select English or Spanish. For your mobile device, select the More icon under the three dots to select English or Spanish. And I will now hand things over to our interpreter, Ruth.
Buenas tardes. Para accesar el servicio de interpretación, por favor desplácese a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, que es el globo terráqueo, o en donde dice More, que es el círculo con los puntos suspensivos, y seleccione su idioma. Para no escuchar el audio original al fondo, haga clic en Mute Original Audio. Gracias. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Next slide. All right. Just waiting for that interpretation room to be added. Okay, awesome. Good evening, everyone. I'm Adelina Paez. I'm an air pollution specialist here at CARB. I work with Stephanie with the funding plan coordination, and for half of the season, I will be facilitating the evening community meetings. Just to give you guys a little bit of information about myself, I do the evening community meetings, obviously, but I also have some focused outreach in the regional and central locations of California. We like to share all of the good information about our light duty incentives and clean mobility investment projects that we have going on right now. I'm also the tribal coordinator for the Mobile Source Control Division, along with my colleague Jason. And let's just get this ball rolling. I also wanted to mention, and I think it's important, we don't always work on funding plan summaries. We do also coordinate with other sections if there are any public interest in learning about anything new that is in my control of bringing to these evening community meetings. I do try, so feedback is always welcome. I will be giving you all my email at the end of this presentation, so if you would like to discuss any topics, please feel free. Let's see, before I move on from here, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the team of folks that attend these evening community meetings. They're CARB staff. They are volunteers and they do this every month, month after month. And I just want to let you all know that we appreciate it and I thank you. Before we continue, I want to address some housekeeping items. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on our meetings and workshops page in about 2 weeks. Staff will drop the link to our meetings and events page. All right, next slide, please. All right. Okay. These are the meeting agreements for our community. Our meeting agreements are here to help alleviate challenges and are as follows. Be respectful, let's be kind, and create a comfortable space for everyone to share their thoughts and experiences. Take space and/or make space. If you have a lot to say, great. We encourage you to ask questions, but please be mindful and leave room for others to participate as well. Listen to understand. Listen without judgment or jumping to conclusions. Lastly, consider equity. We all aim to develop solutions with fairness and equity in mind. People from all over California are here to work together, and these diverse perspectives can help us overcome barriers. With these agreements, let's continue. Next slide. Okay, so what are evening community meetings? The purpose of these meetings is to hold a space for community members to engage with us. This isn't a webinar, this is a meeting, a community meeting, and hopefully a lighter space for all of us to just talk things out. Our goals are to provide a space for community voices and their priorities, brainstorm solutions for clean transportation needs, highlight key funding plan information, and most important, information for communities to share with one another. Lastly, foster ongoing communication between staff and community. We understand community members face unique challenges attending daytime meetings compared to representatives of industry, government, and non-government organizations. We get it, folks have to work, we have chores, family, etc. There's never enough time in the day, right? So to help keep you informed, we've created these meetings to give summaries of the daytime Clean Transportation Incentive Funding Plan Program meetings and are intended for community members, community-based organizations, and individuals who may not be able to attend daytime meetings and are interested in expressing their concerns, questions, and suggestions. If you represent an organization or company that is able to attend the daytime work group meetings, we recommend that you also join those meetings as they will have more technical information, but we welcome you here to listen to today's evening community meeting, hear individual and community concerns. We also ask that you help us prioritize individual and community members' feedback and questions during the Q&A segment. Next slide. Okay, so for today's agenda, first up, we have Stephanie Parent, and she will give us a brief funding plan budget update, followed by Ender and Luis presenting a summary of the policy work group for the Clean Truck and Bus Voucher Incentive Project, also known as HVIP. This meeting was held September 9th, on September 9th, sorry. And then last up, we will have Ava Yagubirad presenting a summary of the Clean Mobility Investments and Long-Term Work Group 2. And that meeting was held at the very end of July 31st. We will have a Q&A after each topic. And I will now hand things over to Stephanie Parent.
Thanks, Catalina.
Sorry?
Hi. Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Parent. I lead our amazing team of staff and management that work on our Clean Transportation Incentives funding plan, which is an annual plan that we present to our board. Go ahead and go to the next section, or the next slide, I mean. So this segment is all about the budget. And so this particular slide here, it's providing updates on clean transportation incentive appropriations based on the June 15th budget, as well as last minute budget bills, last minute budget bills that were passed at the end of the legislative session that really ended yesterday. So note that all the amounts that are shown here are approximate, along with the previously appropriated air quality improvement program funding of about $35 million. CARB was appropriated $132 million from the Air Pollution Control Fund, and that was due to a legal settlement with Hino Motors, which is a subsidiary of Toyota. So this funding is for the Clean Truck and Bus Voucher Incentive Program project, which is also known as HVIP. And last week, the legislature appropriated $25 million from the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, specifically for the regional Clean Cars for All Air District programs. There were no appropriations for other individual and community mobility incentive projects this year. Next slide. So this slide shows CARB staff's proposed allocations for medium and heavy duty incentive projects. Again, the amounts are approximate. Based on these proposed allocations, clean off-road equipment would receive about $33 million, and the Sustainable Heavy Duty Initiatives for Future Technology, or SHIFT, which was also formerly known as Advanced Technology Demonstrations and Pilot Projects, would get about $2 million. The air quality improvement funds can only be used for medium and heavy duty projects, and this is spelled out in the Health and Safety Code. For the Clean Truck and Bus vouchers, or HVIP, for the standard vouchers, those we're proposing that they would receive about $100 million. The transit bus set aside within HVIP would get approximately $26 million, and the innovative small e-fleets, which is also a set aside within HVIP, would receive about $5 million. The Air Pollution Control Fund for the last three projects that I just mentioned, again, are the result of the legal settlement with Hino Motors. So this is where you can provide some input about whether these allocation amounts to the various different projects seem appropriate, or if you have suggestions about how the funds could be split up differently among the projects. And they really kind of need to stay like within those groupings because, like I said, the Air Quality Improvement Fund, or the funds go to that program, can only be used for medium and heavy duty projects, and the Air Pollution Control Funds can only be used for the HVIP standard or set aside projects, and that's all based on that legal settlement of what the funds need to be used for. So now I'll hand things over to, I think it's Robert, to facilitate the Q&A session on these two slides that deal with the budget.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. My name is Robert Chester, and I'm staff here at CARB. So we are going to open the floor for questions and comments about this part of the presentation regarding the budget allocations and the appropriations, what is available. So if you would like to make a comment or ask a question, please raise your hand if you are on Zoom desktop, click Raise Hand under the Participants tab. If you are on Zoom mobile, tap Raise Hand in the More tab. And if you are joining by phone, please press #2 to raise your hand. You may also email questions or comments to cleantransportationincentives@arb.ca.gov, and you see that address here at the bottom of this slide. So when I call on you, if you've raised your hand, please introduce yourself, providing your name and any affiliation that you may have. Okay. I do not see any raised hands at this time. We'll wait a moment. Do we have any emails? No emails. Thank you, Michaela. Aha. Okay, Richard Blaustein, I have asked you to unmute yourself. Please go ahead.
Yes, thanks again. All these meetings are quite helpful. My name is Rich Blaustein. I'm a journalist with Climate Brief, which is published by the Continuing Education of the Bar of California. Just a quick question. So now this is the final session for the funding plan before it's presented to the CARB board, am I correct? Or is there any other intermediate processes for that?
There's still some activity happening. So this evening, obviously, we have the evening community meeting. Then the proposed funding plan will be posted to our webpage on October 10th. That opens up the formal 30-day public comment period. And so people will be able to review the proposed plan, generate comments in the public docket, or some people choose to write a letter and send it to us separately, though the preference is for people to put comments into the public docket. And then we'll have another evening community meeting in October after that October 10th period where things open up. So people will be able to ask questions or provide comments there. And then we will present the plan to the board at the November 20th board meeting. So those are some of the activities that are happening. I think I've caught them all, but I know that Adelina will go over some dates and upcoming meetings at the end of the presentation or the meeting this evening as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Richard. I see no additional hands at this time. I believe we can move forward, and I'll hand things off to Inder.
Thank you. So today I'm going to talk about the California HVIP program, and we can go to the next slide. Oh, there we go. Okay. So the California Air Resource Board launched the hybrid and zero-emission truck and bus voucher incentive project in 2009 to accelerate the adoption of cleaner, more efficient trucks and buses. Through this program, vouchers are applied directly to dealers at the time of purchase, lowering the upfront costs paid by fleets. Since its inception, HVIP has funded more than 14,800 clean vehicles, supported over 2,000 participating fleets, and provided approximately $870 million in redeemed vouchers, making it one of California's most impactful programs for advancing zero-emission transportation. Next slide. The California Air Resource Board is addressing concerns about the high cost of zero-emission trucks, particularly heavy-duty Class 8 models. The board has asked staff to explore potential cost control mechanisms to ensure incentive funds drive real price reductions rather than being absorbed by inflated vehicle costs. A recent CARB analysis comparing Class 8 truck prices in the United States and Europe offers important insights to cost structures and global benchmarks. Looking ahead, CARB's goal is to calibrate incentive amounts to both accelerate the adoption of clean truck technologies and maintain fiscal responsibility. As part of this effort, a proposed policy pathway would be gradually phase down of voucher incentive amounts, sending a clear market signal for manufacturers to lower costs while still providing fleets with meaningful support during the transition to zero-emission vehicles. Next slide. Our initial policy proposal to address the high cost of zero-emission trucks is a gradual phase down of voucher incentive amounts. At present, voucher levels are designed to achieve cost parity with diesel trucks using a 3-year total cost of ownership benchmark. The proposed pathway would reduce voucher amounts by 5% annually over 3 years, giving fleets and manufacturers a predictable and transparent timeline. This phased reduction is intended to send a clear market signal that truck prices should decline as the industry matures, ensuring that incentives promote genuine cost reductions while still providing meaningful support to fleets during the transition to zero-emission technology. Next slide. Among cost control mechanisms that have been considered was the use of an MSRP cap. However, implementing such a cap presents several challenges. Unlike passenger cars, which almost always have a manufacturer suggest a retail price, most trucks do not, making consistent application difficult. The truck market is also highly diverse, with a wide range of vehicle types and prices within weight classes, complicating the ability to set a fair and effective cap. Moreover, a price ceiling could unintentionally exclude certain models, limiting fleet options at a time when flexibility is essential. Stakeholders have also expressed concerns that current market volatility makes it especially difficult to establish caps that remain relevant and equitable as prices continue to fluctuate. Next slide. In addition to cost control options, CARB has received a range of stakeholder feedback on potential policy changes that we are considering and seeking further input on. Suggestions have included providing incentives for renewable natural gas trucks, Class B 2B zero-emission work pickup trucks being introduced into the program, as well as graduating all Class 2B and 3 zero-emission vehicles as those markets have matured. Stakeholders have also called for increased incentives for zero-emission transit buses, stronger manufacturer eligibility criteria, and improvements to program operations, such as reducing voucher processing timelines. Finally, there is continued emphasis on monitoring compliance with the implementation manual to ensure accountability and program integrity. As always, we must weigh proposals and expansion of HVIP eligibility against a constrained budget and HVIP's guiding principles. And at this time, I believe we can stop for questions on this section before handing it over to Luis. I think the next slide is a question slide. Oh, no, that's touch. Okay.
Sorry, Andrew. I thought that you guys were going to present everything and then questions at the end.
Yeah, no worries. If there are no questions, I can hand it over to Luis. Robert, are there any?
Why don't we just proceed with Luis and then we can, Beverly, if you can hold on until this next part of the presentation, I will call on you first. Thank you. Go ahead, Luis.
Thanks, Ender. So my name is Luis Ornelas, and I'm the lead CARB staff for HVIP eligibility. In the next few slides, I'll be going over CARB's truck testing proposal for HVIP eligibility. So staff seeks to enhance the vehicle eligibility review process to include truck testing starting early 2026. Per this proposal, staff would be leveraging from existing test methods outlined in the Society of Automotive Engineers Standard J1634, with minor modifications as needed to accommodate the various truck classes. Per this proposal, staff seeks to implement a phase-in approach where we'd start with the lowest truck class receiving the highest voucher amounts, focusing first on Class 4 through 6, and continuing to add vehicle classes until all trucks seeking HVIP eligibility can be tested as part of the eligibility process. Given CARB's state-of-the-art Riverside facility, staff proposes all testing be done at CARB and by CARB staff. This means that vehicle manufacturers would have to arrange truck drop-off at the Riverside facility at their cost. Staff also welcomes OEMs to volunteer their vehicles to support program and testing developments. Next slide, please. So per the staff proposal, the goal is to have truck testing be a part of the eligibility review process without significantly altering the review time. As part of that phase-in approach, staff would also consider truck testing for trucks that have previously received CARB approval. Industry can play a key role in how we implement this process to reduce and even eliminate unnecessary delays. Next slide, please. So staff would like to request informal written feedback from the public and vehicle manufacturers on the topics covered today. Proposed vehicle testing method, phase-in approach, and implementation timeline. Staff would consider an additional work group for implementing the testing procedures in early 2026. This proposal will be captured in the funding plan, which is released for public comments on October 10th, 2025, with board consideration in November 2025. Staff will consider additional work groups before implementing testing procedures in early 2026 to inform the public of our final decisions regarding HVIP truck testing proposal presented today. This is the contact information for when you can submit comments and questions.
Okay, thank you, Luis. So now is our second period for questions and answers and comments. If you would like to ask a question or make a comment, please raise your hand. If you are joining on a Zoom on desktop, please click raise hand under the participants tab. If you are on Zoom mobile, please tap raise hand in the more tab. And if you are joining by phone, please press #2 to raise your hand. When I call on you, please state your name and affiliation if you have one before asking a question or making a comment. You may also email questions or comments to cleantransportationincentives@arb.ca.gov. That email address is here at the bottom of this slide. Okay. Beverly, thank you for your patience. I am asking you to unmute. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. My name is Beverly Deschaux. I am the president of the Electric Vehicle Association of the California Central Coast. I have a couple of questions, but I'll ask the one that is for sure relevant. The other one might not be relevant. So renewable natural gas, that sounds really good, but it's still burning stuff, right? It's still burning stuff. So we're still having the same issue of putting more emissions into the environment. So why is CARB even considering that?
So those
That's
were,
the question.
those were items that stakeholders have reached out to our group about including in this year's funding plan. So there is no, we're just listing them to get feedback. There is no current proposal right now for those, but we are taking all the feedback from different groups to see where and those are some of the items that were listed. And so we'll take any kind of comments or feedbacks on those, and then in October we will have a draft funding plan that'll actually have proposals that CARB is proposing at that time.
Okay, so that was kind of my feedback, is like it's still burning stuff and we are in a climate emergency and need to transition much more quickly than going that whole route of including that, which we've made the mistake in Santa Cruz of natural gas buses, which are only a few % less in terms of emissions. So I have a huge objection to including that. My question, which may or may not be relevant, is I think, well, it's concerning buses, but it's the larger subject of businesses going out of business. So our transit buses and our school buses have faced the problem of Proterra and Lion going out of business and don't know what they're going to do to get parts and service. Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, so, CARB in terms of the HVIP program has, built-in mechanisms to kind of try to ensure that, the vehicles are warranted and so forth. One of the, parts of that is the businesses staying in business, obviously. And so we always try to work with the fleets to try to, deal with the unforeseen issues on a case-by-case basis. And so that's always ongoing and trying to work with fleets, but we are always trying to improve the program and ensure that, vehicles are properly maintained. And a part of that is what Luis was talking about is a little, changes to our certification process to ensure the vehicles are warranted and meet certain standards. So I think that's an ongoing process always. But, we also are just providing an incentive. And so, these are private transactions between a dealer and a fleet. So there's.
Yeah, of course. But so do you, is CARB having any actual recommendations for particular companies that have gone out of business to replace their?
So each one is being dealt with on a case-by-case basis. It's pretty complicated matter, because these manufacturers are range in terms of what parts they use and availability of part manufacturers and part warranties. And so, it's kind of, each one of those instances, they come to us, we try the dealers work with them. The dealers have different processes for them. Sometimes they have options where they can actually get parts that are still warranted, like batteries that are produced by different manufacturers. So it's always a case-by-case kind of a deal. So.
Thank you, Inder. Thank you for your questions and comments, Beverly. Okay, so we have a question from Jose Flores, and he is asking about procurement. He's trying to help local municipalities and assisting them with procurement of possible grants to assist with purchasing EV fire trucks. Would the budget have any consideration in that regard? I don't know if there's anybody here on the call that could address that, Inder, or anybody on your team.
Yeah, so for HVIP to be eligible, it'd have to be one of the products that is available in our database, and there are upfitters in our database, but I don't, you'd have to contact one of those manufacturers to see if they would do fire trucks or not. So that is an open question there, but they would need to be a manufacturer or dealer that is certified in our program to be eligible for an HVIP voucher.
Okay, thank you, Inder. Okay, Beverly, you have your hand raised again. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have a nonprofit in town who needs a replacement, like a box truck. I don't know exactly what level it's considered, but a refrigerated box truck. And I'm desperately hoping that they will have it be electric, but it's sort of looking in the other direction because anyway, can they get a grant from you for that?
Yeah, so those types of, yeah, definitely they likely could be eligible. They just have to find an HVIP dealer and attempt to apply for the program. Some of those funds are spoken for at this point, but we would be reopening in the future. And so that's a box truck, right? Or does it have a refrigeration unit or anything attached to it, or is it just a normal box truck?
Well, it is a refrigerated box
Okay.
truck.
So for the TRU part, they can actually apply through CORE as well. So that's another option. So both are available to them.
And so CORE still has money.
I believe so, and they haven't opened yet. So.
Okay, can I get an address, email for them for that?
Yeah, so you can just, I think we can drop a link in the chat for the CORE program.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Inder. Thank you, Beverly. I see no more hands raised at this time. Do we have any more comments or questions in email? Okay. All right, we will have another opportunity for comments and questions later on, so I think we can proceed at this time to the next part of the presentation.
All right, up next we have Ava presenting on the summary of the Clean Mobility Investments and Long-Term Plan Workgroup number 2.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ava Yakubi-Rod, the lead staff for Clean Mobility Options Program here at California Resources Board. Tonight, I'm presenting a summary of our July 31st public work group for community members who were not able to attend our daytime work group. This figure just outlines CARB's various community mobility projects. For those of you who may not be familiar with these programs, although these grant projects have not been allocated funds, unfortunately, in the fiscal year of 25-26 budget, staff are still proposing some policy updates for the future when we do have funding. Beginning with the first one, I believe on the left side, regional clean mobility options were the first initial pilot projects that provided shared mobility services for disadvantaged and low-income communities. These pilots have helped CARB gain valuable insight into the clean mobility landscape. Another program is a statewide clean mobility options that was created following the initial pilots, which provides funds for, historically has provided funds for small scale shared mobility projects and also community transportation needs assessment for disadvantaged low income and tribal communities. Clean Mobility in the Schools is another incentive mobility program that supports clean transportation, air quality improvements, and education projects at K-12 public schools. Sustainable Transportation Equity Project, or STEP, is another mobility incentive program that funds complementary investment to expand mobility choices and reduce vehicle miles traveled in response to community identified priorities that may include transit, active transportation infrastructure, workforce development, and other activities. Lastly, Planning and Capacity Building Program, or PCB, are community-led planning grant projects that include dedicated, localized technical assistance as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so this slide provides a general overview of our current technical assistant offered for the full suite of CARB's community mobility and planning projects. For pre and post application technical assistant, CARB and third-party administrators guide applicants in developing their applications, answer questions about grant requirements, grants, as well as providing post-application technical assistance for those that were not successful in getting awards. During the agreement development and compliance phase, onboarding sessions help train grantees on program requirements, and grantees are supported by one-on-one assistance on subjects like insurance compliance and other program requirements with various templates and toolkits that we provide. During project implementation, those toolkits and guides that we provide, either third-party administrators or CARB, support technical expert networks and community support teams. CARB also manages online grantee hubs and a case management system with one-on-one technical assistance, and on-site visits are also conducted by CARB and administrators to connect with grantees in person and work through issues together. In addition, CARB's technical assistance efforts include networking opportunities that I will cover that in the next few slides. Next slide, please. The Clean Mobility Equity Alliance, or CEMIA, is a peer learning knowledge sharing network that convenes clean mobility projects implementers and partners to help build collective capacity and reduce isolation across geographically and operationally diverse clean mobility projects. CEMIA's goals include supporting project implementation by establishing a space for participants to share challenges and lessons learned, and providing capacity building resources to all their members. CEMIA also creates a clean mobility equity community of practice and advances mobility justice policy solutions by identifying unique community needs and responsive policy approaches. This network activities include meetings, resources such as events calendar and funding and policy trackers, communications like bi-weekly digest emails and monthly newsletters, and the annual Clean Mobility Forum. Members range from nonprofits, community-based organizations, local and regional governments, tribal governments, and mobility operators and project implementers. From 2020 through 2025, CEMIA has hosted 66 meetings and has had over 300 participants for the 28 meetings and working groups that were held in 2024. Next slide, please. So expanding on the Clean Mobility Forum that was mentioned, the forum is an annual in-person event hosted by CEMIA that brings clean mobility project implementers and all their partners together to share stories, challenges, successes, and lessons learned in a clean shared mobility space. The forum's goals are to provide capacity building, learning opportunities to share best practices and lessons learned on a variety of topics and focus areas, and to provide networking, relationship building, and partnership development opportunities among CEMIA members and implementers, service providers, researchers, and more. This year, CEMIA will be hosting the third annual forum in Fresno on October 2nd. Previous year's forums were in downtown LA and Pasadena. The forum has gathered over 200 attendees each year and offers panel sessions, breakout rooms, and networking sessions to engage and learn from. My colleagues will drop the link in the chat to the forum website webpage if you would like to register for this year's forum and learn more about all the activities. And registrations for this year closes September 25. That's next Thursday. So please make sure you will register if you're interested before then. Next slide, please. Okay, this is about another collaboration and networking efforts that it's CARB's annual Clean Transportation Equity Incentive Symposium. The symposium is a hybrid event usually hosted by CARB to bring community members, stakeholders, and program administrators together for a bird's eye view of the clean transportation equity incentive programs. To date, CARB has hosted 3 symposiums held in Oakland, Sacramento, and most recently in Los Angeles on April 10, 2025. Next year's symposium date and location are still to be determined. The symposium goals are to reflect on CARB's light-duty equity incentive programs, network and partnership building, and to facilitate information sharing. Past sessions at the symposium have discussed community outreach, lessons learned, data collection, and more. Next slide, please. So during our July 31st work group, we also provided an overview of CARB's clean mobility research and evaluation reports. Tonight, I present just a high-level summary of those slides. We'll drop the link to the full work group presentation in the chat if you would like to listen in. We've also placed information about these contracts and their findings on the CARB website, which the link is provided on the slide here. Please check it out if you're interested to learn more. In the past few years, CARB has contracted with a range of universities and organizations to support our clean mobility programs in 2 main ways. First, we've funded independent evaluation projects that look at both the overall impact of our statewide programs and more localized community scale efforts. These community level evaluations help us understand what's working on the ground and identify practices that could be applied in other communities. Second, we've partnered with several groups to provide technical assistance, both to help potential applicants prepare strong proposals for grants and to support grantees as they implement their project. The goal across both of these areas is to ensure our programs are equitable, effective, and responsive to community needs. On the evaluation side, we partnered with research institutions like UC Berkeley and Irvine, among others. They've evaluated larger scale projects like Clean Mobility Options and the Sustainable Transportation Equity Project, but also conducted in-depth case studies at the community level. That community scale lens is especially important for identifying lessons that can inform future projects across different contexts. On the technical assistance side, we're working with organizations like the Shared Use Mobility Center, the Institute for Local Government, and the Othering and Belonging Institute, or OBI. These organizations have provided support to applicants during the application process, helping them understand program requirements, strengthen their proposals, and navigate the submission process. They're also helping grantees, as I said earlier, with their project implementation, offering coaching, peer learning opportunities, and other tools to support successful community-centered delivery. Next slide, please. During the July work group, we also discussed a subject of financial sustainability, challenges and needs for community mobility projects. We have found that many of the mobility projects funded by CARB face ongoing financial sustainability challenges. Ultimately, we want to fund projects that have lasting community benefits, local ownership, and scalability. However, without the stable financial models, it's hard to maintain services long enough to deliver lasting impacts. Similar to public transit, buses and trains, which depend on ongoing public subsidies, we believe these mobility services will also require ongoing public investments from grants or some other forms of government funding to remain operational. Challenges can look different depending on the type of service, whether it's electric car share, electric bike share, or in other models. Each has its own infrastructure needs, operational requirements, and levels of users' demand, which all impact financial viability. In next slide, we highlight some of the key financial and operational challenges faced by shared mobility project implementers in equity-focused programs and some potential strategies that may help overcome those challenges. Next slide, please. All right, so to name a few key financial hurdles and scalability issues in clean mobility project, we start with a significant upfront investment, not just for the vehicles themselves, but also for charging infrastructure, insurance, and ongoing maintenance, which can be especially costly for electric vehicles, electric bikes, and chargers. We've also observed theft and vandalism, like stolen bikes, damage or tempering EV chargers, EV stations, graffiti, and stolen parts, which all lead to higher operational cost and disrupt services for communities who rely on them. In low-income community or rural community, demand may take time to grow, which means fare revenue also doesn't cover the operation costs for a while. And because these services aim to be affordable, especially in equity-focused communities, there is limited opportunity to increase revenue through pricing. In addition, for some services like microtransit, dispatch and software systems, especially those being outsourced to private companies, require a lot of resources, and that adds to financial strain. Demand also tends to fluctuate seasonally, especially for projects like bike share services, with usage dropping in colder or rainy months that impact overall revenue. The right column of this table summarizes a few potential strategies that could help overcome those challenges. To stay afloat, these programs typically need ongoing public subsidies or grants. Having strong partners like affordable housing developers, universities, community organizations can both help fill funding gaps and also increase the demand. There's also a need to explore innovative revenue streams, things like advertising, corporate sponsorships, or integration with public transit fare systems to help increasing user adoption and qualify these programs for additional transportation funding opportunities through their regional mobility plans. For example, connecting bike share with local public transit for first and last mile coverage can drive up demand, but more importantly, reflect its role as an essential part of transportation infrastructure, which can also help build support for continued public investment for these services. Next slide, please. Um, And here at CARB, we continue to explore additional ways that we can support and help creating the conditions for long-term success for these clean mobility projects, not just by funding them, but by building capacity, partnerships, and visibility across the mobility ecosystem. As mentioned previously, these services will always need some sort of government incentives and public funding to remain viable. And we believe long-term sustainability for these projects should not be defined by their full financial self-sufficiency, but by providing equitable access, having a strong community support and impact, and meeting their environmental and social goals. It's critical that we do our best to help grantees get connected to available local, state, and federal funding sources, as well as other creative sources of financing, as many struggle to continue after initial funding ends. Conventional transportation funding programs often do not provide ongoing support for all of the activities needed, and addressing this can require some creativity and advanced planning. We're also exploring the possibility of having more flexible encumbrance and liquidation deadlines for our grants to allow projects the time they need to deploy funds effectively. Many grantees operate small community-based programs with limited staff capacity, so we understand that rigid timelines can become a barrier to full implementation or scale up. For projects already showing measurable success, whether in ridership, community impact, or emission reductions, we may consider reinvestment rather than always starting fresh. Sustaining successful efforts can often be more cost effective and equitable than launching new pilots. And finally, active transportation infrastructure is another key area. Improving bike and pedestrian access around mobility hubs can support not just clean mobility, but also healthier and more connected communities. And they usually do not rely on ongoing funding streams. We want to empower grantees to tell their stories and advocate for support through trainings in outreach resources as part of our marketing plan. And this topic will be covered next. Next slide. Okay, so marketing plan was another topic, but that we discussed during our July 31st work group. Marketing plan for sustainable community-based transportation equity project, the full title. The mobility marketing plan was developed by Hartquist Strategies. This entity is part of our current Clean Mobility Options Administrator team. This was to increase awareness of CARB's mobility projects and help communicate the importance of securing funding to maintain these projects' capacity and help support their long-term sustainability. This plan has various target audiences, including local and state elected officials, transportation organization, non-governmental and community-based organizations, clean transportation grantees within CARB and beyond, tribal communities and government entities, and general public. The strategies include speaking engagements for senior members on the impact of equitable clean transportation solutions through developing a speaking engagement calendar, providing media training, and other resources to prepare members for these kind of opportunities. The plan also includes amplifying social media content through toolkits to help bring awareness to events and milestones, such as the Clean Mobility Forum that I just covered. Legislative outreach also includes toolkits and trainings to help grantees in inviting legislator and local elected officials to their launch events and other related community events. This marketing plan was presented to CEMIA Network last summer to work through the strategies and collect input on the plan. The meeting and feedback survey results showed majority positive feedback, with members sharing that many of these tactics were actions that they had already been doing or would like to start doing and appreciate more support and guidance on. The marketing plan strategies will continue to progress throughout the year and beyond. Next slide, please. Thanks for hanging in there. I know there are a lot of contents here. So this slide is about our question for you, basically. CARB has been implementing our pilot mobility project since 2015. And is continually working to improve and streamline access to funding, planning, and implementation. Over the next few slides, I want to highlight some of the feedback we heard from stakeholders and applicants on how that feedback has helped us modify approaches to better meet the needs of communities. We are interested in getting your feedback on whether these modifications have been helpful, or whether there are other things you suggest us to consider as we continue to evolve and grow our incentive programs. Over the last few years, we've heard from stakeholders and communities that CARB needs to develop strategies on how we plan to prioritize investments to fill gaps in access to clean transportation for tribes, rural communities, Black communities, and other communities of color. We were asked to review how our programs can give adequate priority to helping households and communities that have severe needs using objective criteria. Some of our programs have always incorporated this focus, and some have used first come, first serve methods and other approaches intended to make these incentive programs easy and quick to access. As we study this question, we want to hear your suggestions. We've worked to incorporate equity-focused criteria into our grant selection process, aiming to prioritize communities with significant needs. However, we know there's always room to improvement, and today would like to get your input on how we can further refine our approaches to better identify and fund communities with the most severe unmet mobility needs. What tools, what data or strategies should we be considering to ensure we're truly meeting communities where they are? I think in the next slide, I'll review some examples of our current criteria that we've been considering when selecting projects. Next slide. Yes, so these are some examples of equity-focused or needs-based criteria that we are implementing right now. Project selection process vary across our mobility incentive projects depending on the specific objectives of the funding. All mobility project applicants must meet basic equity criteria that has been outlined in the statute. That means California law requires CARB's equity projects to prioritize funding to what we call priority populations. They are defined as disadvantaged and low-income communities, as well as low-income households. Or it's better to say overburdened than disadvantaged communities. Here we are highlighting some examples of these criteria we currently use to guide funding decisions for STEP, clean mobility in school, and planning capacity building projects. Across them all, we emphasize strong community grounding, such as requiring that services and infrastructure primarily serve low income and overburdened communities, and proposals that are clearly responding to transportation needs identified through community engagement and prioritizing hard to reach residents. Here, projects usually get points, extra points, when their intent and focus are to increase transportation equity and access to key destination, and when they are selected via equitable engagement process. Next slide, please. We also considered, so these are some examples, for example, for our Clean Mobility Options program, the way that we selected awards. We considered a set aside guaranteed funding for tribal applicants to ensure that they don't have to compete with larger, more resourceful applicants. Another example of our equity-focused grant application criteria was reducing financial barriers by allowing non-monetary contributions instead of historically like match funding requirement for these grants. Altogether, these criteria aim to ensure funding goes to projects that are not only community-driven, but responsive to the real transportation challenges residents face. As mentioned previously, at times we have heard stakeholders suggest that our mobility projects should further prioritize funding to communities with the greatest needs using a needs-based model. CARB would like to better understand what considerations we should include when designing and evaluating project based on needs-based model. So going back to the first question on previous slide, again, I would really like your input during our next Q&A section on how we can further refine our approach to better identify and fund communities with particularly severe unmet mobility needs. What tools, what kind of data or strategies should we be considering to ensure we're truly meeting communities where they are? And I think the final slide is our contact list. So we'll be happy if you contact us directly for any questions or concern or suggestion you may have for our mobility investment projects. And thank you again for listening. Back to you, Robert.
Thank you, Eva. Okay, now we've reached our last comment and question period. The floor is now open for comments and questions. To raise your hand in Zoom on your desktop, please click Raise Hand under the Participants tab. If you are joining on a Zoom mobile platform, tap Raise Hand in the More tab. If you are joining by phone, please press #2 to raise your hand. And please state your name and affiliation, if any, before asking a question or making a comment. If you would like to email a comment or question, you may do so by sending it to cleantransportationincentives@arb.ca.gov. And that's the address you see at the bottom of this slide here. So, the floor is now open. Do we have any emails at this time? No? Okay. We do not see any hands raised at this time. Okay. Adelina?
All right. Can you hear me? Anyone? Robert, can you hear me?
Yep. You're just fine.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. All right. So there were no questions for Ava, but I do want to open the floor right now. This is something fairly new that we've started adding to the end of the Q&As if we don't get any questions, especially at the very end. If there are any more questions that didn't get answered previously, right now would be a good time to do that. I also want to open the floor for other general comments, or even if any of our community-based organizations or nonprofits that are attending tonight, if you guys have any events that you would like us to elevate here, please feel free to share out at this time. We can also add links for you if needed. You can also email those to us in advance for next month, because we have these every month. If there's anything you'd like for us to share out, if you have like a community event, family day or Earth Day or anything like that, you can share those ideas here as well. I'm going to give everyone just a second. I think we do have, I don't know who is first. I will just start off with Jose. Let me.
Hello.
Yeah,
This is Jose Flores with Comité Cívico del Valle in Imperial County. Just a comment. We've worked the past couple of years with Cali VIP in trying to install our own EV chargers throughout Imperial County because there was a lack of infrastructure countywide. So we took that endeavor upon ourselves, and we didn't know what we were getting into with a lot of hidden cost of EV charger installation. So now we're in our third year, and a lot of costs have come up with maintenance and fixing the chargers. And not only that, but also we were unaware that we had to have our chargers. We had to have our chargers be sealed by the county weights and measures, which is a cost that we were not prepared for. And eventually we got it done. But those are just kind of missteps of miscommunication, of maybe the possibility of grants in the future take into account a lot of hidden costs for projects that are unforeseen, especially for rural communities. You talk about, again, overburdened, et cetera, Imperial County is up there. So all these hidden costs have to come from somewhere. So we're picking up the tab as a nonprofit. But again, just to give heads up statewide, that there's a lot of cost involved with infrastructure that people do not know about. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jose. Thank you so much for your comment. We absolutely understand that. And, you know, every time we are trying to provide some additional funding for our current project, we hear these comments that they say, well, there were, so many things we did not consider when we applied for these grants, back in 2020 or even 2023, even a year ago. Like, costs have gone up significantly, and there are, as you said, hidden costs that we're trying to get a better sense of with, and provide that through our technical assistant, our and our administrator to help grantees and help project implementers to think about those when they're developing their budgets. So again, thank you so much for your feedback.
Okay, next up, Michael Alawis.
Hi, I'm Michael Alawis. I'm technical advisor for San Bernardino International Airport. We are in a DAC. We've installed 130 dual port EV chargers, level 2. We're also working on 8 DCFC ports, 2 different locations at the airport. We're working with the CEC and Energize to go ahead and get it funded, because at this point in time, DCFC chargers are way too expensive and the payback isn't there at this point in time. My question is that I didn't see it on here for hydrogen development. We're considering working on a natural gas with carbon sequestration or hydrogen for supporting about 100 hydrogen buses in the area and 1 hydrogen train, plus some possible generation or actual cooling for generation as well for electricity. Is there any funding available through CARB for this venture? Anyone?
Anyone from CARB staff able to take this?
Green hydrogen just is not feasible. Economically, it just doesn't work.
I did get a response from one of our managers. He said possibly a shift project, but there is no current funding at the moment.
Okay. All right. Well, thank
But
you.
thank you, Michael, for your feedback. We appreciate it.
All
Oh,
right.
I'm sorry. I just got another message that said HVIP.
The what?
Does anyone from HVIP want to jump on and elaborate a little bit?
Currently, right now, all these buses and trains are getting their hydrogen from out of the state.
Hi, good evening, folks. This is Peter Christensen. I'm the chief of the Innovative Strategies branch. Just wanted to mention that the HVIP program that we talked about earlier tonight, that program supports funding for hydrogen fuel cell transit buses, as well as hydrogen trucks, anything in the heavy duty space. So we definitely have some options there. And as you mentioned, we work closely with our partners at the Energy Commission on infrastructure. We'd be happy to work with you and talk about the funding that we have available today, as well as potential future funding, so that you're ready when we have possibly other opportunities. So thanks very much for your comments tonight.
Well, we're getting ready to possibly launch something right now, and this is actually to fund the buses and fund the trains via giving them hydrogen. So we're looking to be able to make sure that we can build this facility out and have the appropriate funds to do so. So it doesn't sound like that. It sounds like we're going a little faster than you folks are ready.
Another spot, just to kind of build on what Peter was talking about, there's programs for funding hydrogen infrastructure through the Energy Commission and their programs that kind of work on the other side of the equation, right? HVIP can fund the trucks, but the infrastructure and fuelings they help out from that end. So that might be another opportunity as well.
We
but
have a
can
call with them
share.
tomorrow afternoon, so we can ask that question.
Yeah, I believe Arch is a program that they administrate that works on that element of it.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll ask tomorrow and see what they can come up with. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Ender and Peter. We appreciate your responses. We have Beverly with another question. Go ahead,
Hi.
Beverly.
Hi, thank you. So I just need to make a comment about hydrogen, and that is that 95 to 98% of hydrogen is made from fossil fuels. Its energy density is 1/3 that of battery electric. Green hydrogen doesn't exist and not likely to because of the enormous cost of getting green energy. And and Arches, who's behind that is Chevron. And the companies who are part of Arches are hydrogen companies interested in making money, which any business is, but their interest is not necessarily in reducing emissions for your company or for the state. And the cost of the fueling stations are cost prohibitive. For commercial use, they can be as much as $9 million for each. And the least amount is that they are $2 million. They're highly explosive. I mean, there's just everything is wrong with them. Our city got some grants and they're suffering. They wouldn't listen to me. And they're suffering because of the cost of the fuel and that they can't get it. And hydrogen's a bust. So I recommend that last speaker to not bother. That's my comment.
Okay, Beverly, this is supposed to be a space for everyone to be able to come and ask questions.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stop you right there because we want to respect everyone else, and we're going to move on. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, we're just gonna wrap everything up and talk about our next steps. Before we move on, I want to thank everyone, all of you, for coming, speaking, expressing your ideas, your comments, your questions. Everything is so appreciated. We wouldn't be able to do our funding plan. We wouldn't be able to implement these projects without you guys. So it's so important that everyone come here and be able to express themselves. Next slide. So I just want to share a couple of upcoming events. Although June and July are our more intensive months to collaborate and educate the public on funding plan, staff has already written the proposed plan and it will be posted to our website on October 10th. You'll have an opportunity to review and comment on the plan for 30 days. We'll have an evening community meeting again on October 21st to discuss the proposed funding plan, which means you guys are welcome to come here and ask questions about the funding plan. It will be posted, so you'll be able to read it beforehand and come to us with questions. We are here to listen. Let's see. We will present the proposed funding plan and hear verbal comments at the November 20th board meeting. Anyone is welcome to attend. You can come to this board meeting. I'm going to have staff drop the link for the CARB board meetings in the chat. Please come support any project that you appreciate or love. We could use that We would appreciate any comments that you have. I'd like to close with a quick reminder that the evening community meetings are held every third Tuesday of the month, excluding the month of November, due to the funding plan being presented to the board. We also may need to shift them around a day or two. Hasn't happened yet, but it may. But we do try our best to stay consistent. We want you all to know that we hold these every month, and these are for you. If you would like to join any of our other workshops or work groups, they do require a little bit more time, but you will get more technical detail. You'll be able to talk to project leads, which I think is super important. So we are going to have staff drop the link for our meetings and workshop pages, event pages, just in case you want to attend any of those as well. And then lastly, final slide. Next slide, please. Another way to stay informed is to join our listserv. You click on the link, they will ask what topics you're interested in, and you will get an email on any events that that are on the topics that you've selected, and we'll have those links in for you as well. And we also still have engagement opportunities available for the funding plan. And we are going to drop that in the chat as well. And again, thank you everyone for coming. We appreciate all of the help from our volunteers and everyone that has attended tonight. I can't express how important it is to hear your feedback and your questions. And if you feel that we didn't spend enough time, you'd like for us to try to direct you to the right staff or project lead, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm Adelina again. My email is on the screen. We also have Noemi Vitela. Stephanie Parent leads the funding plan. And then finally, the team email. If you send anything to this email, we will contact and hound the right person down for you. And then lastly, again, in our slides, we have the engagement opportunities for the funding plan. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.